The door slammed shut, the force reverberating through the cracked walls of Okwudili's modest house. Amoka stormed out, her wrapper slipping dangerously low on her hips, her face a canvas of rage and despair. "You're not human, Okwudili," she screamed, her voice cracking. "You're a beast in a man's skin." Okwudili stood shirtless in the doorway, his chiseled frame gleaming under the moonlight. His expression was impassive, almost resigned, as he watched her retreating figure. He knew she wouldn't be back. None of them ever came back. The neighbors peered from their windows, their hushed voices weaving through the night. "Another one bites the dust," an elderly woman muttered, shaking her head. "That boy will die alone." Okwudili, at 32, was the kind of man women dreamed about, tall, dark, and dangerously handsome. His charm was magnetic, his confidence intoxicating. Yet behind closed doors, he was a man consumed by an insatiable hunger, a need so overwhelming it turned passion into torment. His first love, Ada, had been the epitome of youthful beauty and vitality. They were inseparable, their chemistry electric. But within weeks, Ada began to change. Her vibrant glow faded, her laughter replaced by hollow stares and trembling hands. "He doesn't stop," she confided to her closest friend, her voice barely audible. "I've tried, but it's like he's possessed." Ada left him, and the whispers began. "Okwudili is cursed," they said. "He devours women and leaves them empty shells." One by one, the women of Umwogu came and went. Nkechi, the widowed seamstress, lasted 2 months. Amora, the outspoken market trader, held on for 3 weeks. The stories were always the same. Okwudili's appetite was too much. "It's not love," Nkechi explained to a group of women at the stream. "It's like he's trying to fill a void he doesn't understand." The men in the village mocked him. "The mighty Okwudili," they sneered. "King of nothing but his own misery." Okwudili heard their words, but what truly haunted him were the faces of the women he had hurt. Their tears, their pleas for him to stop, it all began to weigh on him. For the first time in his life, he felt something unfamiliar: shame. Desperate for answers, he visited Neka, the enigmatic herbalist who lived at the edge of the forest. Neka listened to his story in silence, her eyes piercing through him. "Your problem isn't physical," she said finally. "It's spiritual. You've spent your life taking without giving. Your soul is starved, not your body. Can you help me?" Okwudili asked, his voice trembling with desperation. Neka nodded and handed him a small bottle filled with a thick, red liquid. "Drink this tonight," she instructed. "But be warned, what you face in your dreams will determine your future." That night, Okwudili drank the potion and fell into a deep, restless sleep. In his dream, he was surrounded by the women he had hurt. Their faces were etched with pain and anger. "You took everything from us," Ada said, stepping forward. Her voice was steady, but her eyes brimmed with tears. "Now you must understand what it feels like." Suddenly, Okwudili felt an unbearable weight press down on him. He gasped for air, his body trembling under the strain. "You will carry this burden," Nkechi said, her voice echoing, "until you learn to give more than you take." When he woke, drenched in sweat, something had shifted. The relentless hunger that had defined his existence was gone. Word spread quickly that Okwudili had changed. He no longer pursued women with the same ferocity. Instead, he spent his days helping others, repairing roofs, fetching water, teaching boys to fish. One day, he met Chinye, a quiet, compassionate woman who worked as a nurse in a nearby town. Unlike the others, Chinye wasn't drawn to his looks or charm. She saw the man behind the facade, a man seeking redemption. Their relationship was slow and deliberate. Okwudili learned to listen, to give without expecting anything in return. For the first time, he experienced love as something selfless and pure. Months later, Okwudili visited Neka to thank her. I don't see their faces anymore, he said. The women I hurt, they've stopped haunting me. Neko smiled. Because you finally learned to feed your soul. Love is not about taking, it's about giving. Okwudili and Chinyo married in a modest ceremony, attended by the very villagers who once mocked him. Together, they built a life rooted in kindness and understanding. Years later, as he walked through the village holding his young daughter's hand, the whispers had changed. That's Okwudili, they said. The man who found redemption. And for the first time, Okwudili felt whole.